The wind howled outside, sharp and cold like knives. Jacob sat alone in his small wooden house on the edge of Colony 12. A single lantern flickered near his workbench, where old machines lay half open, wires poking out like broken bones. The rest of the colony was quiet, sleeping, lost in their own dreams or nightmares. Jacob liked the silence. He wasn't a man of many words. He had once been a soldier. But now he just fixed things: generators, water pipes, broken lights. His home was far from the main road, surrounded by trees and wild fog that never seemed to lift. He thought of it as peace. But that night, something broke that peace. Knock, knock, knock sound came fast, desperate, like someone running from something. Jacob stood up quickly. Grabbing the old plasma torch he kept near the door. He wasn't scared, but he was ready. He opened the door, and what he saw made him freeze. There stood a woman, not human. Her skin was pale gray, almost silver under the moonlight. Her large purple eyes were filled with fear and pain. Her clothes were torn, her feet bare, and behind her were two small alien children, no older than 5 or 6. They clung to her legs, silent, wide-eyed, shivering. "Please." The woman whispered in broken English. "Help us." Jacob didn't speak. He looked into her eyes, tired, sad, and honest. This wasn't a trap. She wasn't armed. Her hands were trembling. I don't have food," Jacob said, his voice rough. The woman shook her head quickly. "Not food, not bed, not for me," she said, placing her hands on the children's heads. "Just them. Take them, hide them, keep them safe." Jacob blinked. Shocked. "You want me to adopt them?" he asked. She nodded, a tear sliding down her cheek. They are half human, their father dead. No one will take them. Aliens fear them, humans hate them. You are last hope." He looked at the children. Their faces were soft, scared, but beautiful. Their eyes, one purple, like their mother's, one brown like his own. "Where's your name?" he asked, still unsure if he was dreaming. She hesitated, then whispered, "Mela." The boy hid behind her leg. The little girl began to cough. Jacob stepped back and opened the door wider. "Come." Inside, he said. "All of you," she gasped, eyes wide. "You. Let us. Just come in before something sees you out here," he muttered. Glancing into the trees, the woman and children stepped inside. Cold air following them. Jacob closed the door and locked it. He threw some old blankets to the floor, motioned toward the heater. The kids curled up quickly, still silent. Mela remained standing, watching him carefully. "You said their father's dead," Jacob said slowly, pouring a glass of warm water. "What happened?" She stayed silent, then finally said, "Hunters. They took him, tried to take us too, but we ran." Jacob nodded slowly. He had heard stories. Alien slave traders, bounty hunters, people who sold children across stars for credits, some rumors said. They had a base near the outer moons. He never believed them. "Now why come to me?" he asked. "There are others in the colony." She looked down, her voice breaking. "Because you. Human, but still live alone. Not cruel, not like others. I watched, I hoped." Jacob stared at her, not knowing what to say. He had never seen her before. Had she really been watching his house all this time? "Are they really half human?" he asked. She nodded, and for the first time removed the cloth from the boy's back. A scar ran across his shoulder, burned in the shape of a H4 hybrid. Jacob felt anger rise in his chest, not at her, not at the children, but at the monsters who did this. "You need sleep," he said finally. "You all do." "I won't stay," Mela said. "Just rest. Then I go. But please, promise me, if I don't come back, you will keep them." Jacob stared at her. Her face wasn't beautiful in the human sense, but there was something deep in her expressions, something powerful. He looked at the kids again, then nodded slowly. Yeah, I'll keep them, Mela smiled. Weak but grateful. She sat by the wall, wrapped in a blanket. The children slept beside her, and Jacob sat across, watching the door, outside. The wind howled louder, somewhere in the distance. A ship passed low in the sky. Morning arrived slowly, bringing a pale golden light through the fogged windows. Jacob stood near the heater, arms crossed, staring at the sleeping shapes on the floor. The alien woman and her 2 children had not moved all night, but now the small girl stirred, her tiny hand reaching out to her brother in her sleep. Jacob hadn't slept, not even for a second. His mind was racing. He had allowed 3 strangers, one of them not even human, to his home. Worse, he had promised to take care of 2 children who weren't his. He didn't regret it, not yet, but he needed answers. The woman finally opened her eyes. Her gaze met Jacob's across the room. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. No words, only silence. Then Jacob asked quietly, "Your name isn't Mela, is it?" She blinked, looked away. "No," she whispered, "it's not." Jacob sighed. "Why lie?" She sat up slowly, careful not to wake the children, because names are hunted. Real names mean they can find me, hurt them, kill them like they killed him. Jacob's voice was low, serious. "If I'm risking my life, I deserve the truth." The woman hesitated, then said softly, "Zura." Jacob nodded. "All right, Zura, tell me everything. No more lies." Zura pulled the children closer before she spoke. Her voice was calm but hollow, like someone who had cried too much and had nothing left. "My mate was a human soldier. We met during border patrol operations. He saved my village, then stayed behind after the war. We were different, but we fell in love. Had these 2. She touched the children's hair gently. Our peace lasted for years. Jacob listened, slowly kneeling by the fire as she continued. Then they came. Bounty hunters. They said we broke galactic purity codes. They took him first. I tried to fight. They branded the children and said they were worthless, sold them for spare parts. I escaped, ran through the swamps, through the colonies, begged for help. Everyone turned away. Jacob clenched his fists. Why would anyone hurt children? Zura gave a bitter smile. Because they're half-blood, and I'm a widow. No one values a widow with mixed children. Not in this galaxy. The children began to wake, their sleepy eyes looking around the room. Jacob reached for a small packet of food bars and handed them over. The kids took them with quiet gratitude, eating silently. "They're good kids," Jacob said softly. "Quiet, obedient." "They're scared," Zura replied. "They've seen too much to be children anymore." Jacob stood up, pacing near the window, and the hunter. "You said he's coming." Zura's body tensed at the word. "Yes. His name is Gorak. Tall, blue scales, single cybernetic eye. He killed their father with his bare hands. He's not just a hunter. He's obsessed. He won't stop until he finds us." Jacob looked outside. The forest was quiet, but something in his gut twisted. "Then we can't stay here long," he said. "The colony's security isn't built for something like that." Zura shook her head. "We don't need to run." "Not yet. He won't strike. During the day, he watches stalks, waits until night." Jacob turned sharply. "You mean? He's already here?" Zura nodded. "He's watching. I saw his drone last night, before I knocked on your door." Jacob's heart pounded harder. He walked over to a cabinet and pulled out an old scanner, powered it up, and aimed it out the window. The screen blinked for a moment, then beeped one signal: close, hiding in the tree line. "Damn it," he whispered. "He's camping nearby." Zura stood, pulling the children close. "I'll go. I'll take them and go." Jacob turned sharply. "No." Zura blinked. "Surprised, but I let you in. I made a promise. I don't break my word. Jacob said firmly, he comes near this house, he'll regret it. Zura's voice shook. You don't know what he's capable of? Jacob's eyes were cold, serious. Then he doesn't know what I'm capable of either. A silence fell between them, filled only by the quiet chewing of the children. Zura's eyes shimmered slightly, her voice barely a whisper. Thank you. Jacob didn't reply. He was already busy setting traps, loading old weapons, and pulling power cables from the walls. War was coming again, not on some distant battlefield, but in his own backyard. And this time, Jacob wasn't fighting for a flag. He was fighting for a broken woman who had no name and 2 frightened children who just wanted to live. The morning passed quietly, but the air inside the house felt heavy. Jacob worked in silence, checking wires, charging old rifles, and setting motion sensors near the door and windows. Zura watched him, her expression unreadable. The children stayed close to her, afraid to even speak, at noon. Jacob finally sat down across from her, sweat on his forehead. All right, he said. Now I need the full truth. No more hiding, no more silence. Zura hesitated, her hands tightening around her daughter's shoulders. She glanced at the kids, then back at Jacob. They are not just half human, she said slowly. Their father. He wasn't an ordinary man. Jacob's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? He was part of a secret military program, Zura whispered. Human Special Forces, Project Unity. He was assigned to my planet years ago to study alien integration. But he fell in love instead. Jacob leaned back, surprised. Are you saying the human government sent him to? What? Spy on you? At first, yes, she nodded. But he changed. He protected our village, built bridges between our people, even gave up his rank. He stayed because of me. Because of them, she looked at the children, her voice soft now. But when he left the military, someone wanted him gone. I don't know who, but Gorak came right after. Jacob's jaw tightened. You think he was assassinated? Zura nodded slowly. Yes, but not just to punish him, to take the children. They're not just hybrids. Jacob, they're symbols, proof that unity between humans and aliens is possible, and someone, somewhere, wants that proof erased. Jacob stood up, pacing. This just got worse. Zura said nothing, only held her children tighter. The boy, whose name was Relin, looked up and said quietly, Is it my fault? Jacob froze, turned around, and knelt beside him. No, never say that again. But if I wasn't born, maybe Mama wouldn't cry so much, the boy whispered. Jacob felt a pain deep in his chest. He placed a hand on the boy's head. You didn't do anything wrong. You were born to be loved. And I'm not going to let anyone tell you otherwise. Zura wiped her eyes quickly, trying to stay strong. Outside, the scanner near the window beeped again. Jacob checked its same signal, same spot. He's still out there, Jacob said, watching. Waiting for dark, Zura added, her voice cold now. Jacob looked out the window again. But his thoughts were turning. Zura, if this is bigger than bounty hunters, if someone powerful wants these kids gone, maybe we can't just hide. Maybe we need to expose them. Zura blinked. Expose who? We don't even know who ordered it, but I know someone who might, Jacob said. Walking toward a locked chest in the corner, he pulled out an old communicator, scratched, dusty, and clearly untouched for years. I used to serve in the same Black Ops unit, Jacob said. We had a code only use this channel if it's life or death. He turned it on, the screen buzzing with static. Let's see if anyone's still listening. Zura stood slowly, unsure whether to feel hope or fear. You're really going to help? She asked, her voice cracking. Jacob didn't look up. I already promised I'd protect them. This is just a bigger way to do it. A voice suddenly crackled through the communicator. Distorted but clear enough. Identify yourself. Jacob answered, Unit 14. Designation Ghost Fixer. Requesting emergency recon code, black. There was silence. Then a reply, coordinates confirmed, drone inbound in 6 hours. Jacob shut it off and exhaled slowly. Help is coming. Zura's eyes widened. Is it safe? Jacob gave a tired smile. No, but it's the only chance we've got. The children played quietly in the corner. Unaware of the storm gathering around them, Zura walked toward Jacob, standing beside him. You could have turned us away. Left us to die? Why are you doing this? Jacob didn't answer for a moment. He looked down at the girl's toy-an old wooden bird she must have picked up during the escape. 'Cause someone needs to do what's right, he said. And maybe? This time, it's me. A long silence followed, but it wasn't uncomfortable. For the first time since she arrived, Zura felt something strange. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. Trust, as the sun began to fall behind the trees. Shadows stretched across the floor. The hunter was still waiting. Still watching, but inside the house, something had changed. Jacob was no longer just a stranger. He was becoming their shield, their voice, their future. Asterisk, the sun dipped below the trees, painting the sky in dark red and orange. Long shadows moved across the ground. The warmth of day disappeared. Replaced by the chill of night, Jacob stood on his porch, shotgun in hand, eyes locked. On the forest, the signal from the motion tracker hadn't moved all day. But he knew better. The hunter was close, too close, inside the house. Zura held her children close under the table, a blanket wrapped around them. Her eyes kept flicking to the door. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Stay quiet, Jacob whispered. Re-entering the house and locking the door, keep the lights low. She nodded, hugging the children tighter. The girl, Eleni, buried her face in her mother's chest, trying not to cry. Jacob checked the traps. Tripwires across the backyard. EMP mines buried under the dirt. He had wired up an alarm system that would light up if anything moved within 20 meters. Then, knock, knock, knock. A slow, heavy knock echoed through the silent house. Not fast or desperate like Zura's had been. This knock was calm, dangerous, confident. Jacob's body froze. His hands tightened around the shotgun. Zura gasped quietly. Her breath caught in her throat. Her eyes turned wide with terror. It's him, she mouthed. Gorak. Jacob walked to the door, careful not to make a sound. He peeked through the corner window. A tall figure stood outside, nearly 7 feet. Blue-scaled skin glowing faintly in the dark. One cybernetic red eye blinked steadily, scanning the area. The rest of his face was cold. Inhuman. He wore armor made from the bones of other creatures. A blaster rifle rested on his shoulder, but he didn't reach for it. Human. The voice called from outside, deep and slow. I am Gorak, licensed bounty enforcer. Jacob didn't reply. He quietly activated the house's power locks, shutters sliding into place, windows reinforcing with steel mesh. Gorak didn't flinch. He took one step forward and placed something gently on the ground. I'm looking for a fugitive, female alien, traveling with 2 hybrid children. He said, they are not safe, not for this world. Jacob opened the side panel beside the door and pressed the voice channel button. Go away, he said coldly. There's no one like that here. A long silence followed. Then Gorak spoke again. Voice calm. Lying is a poor choice. Mechanic. Jacob's eyes narrowed. So was threatening a man in his own home. Gorak's red eye glowed brighter. I don't need to threaten. I always get what I come for, sooner or later. Then he turned and walked away. Not rushing, not angry, just slowly disappearing into the trees again. Jacob exhaled slowly, heart still pounding. He turned back to Zura, who was crouched low, whispering softly to her children, calming them. He knows, Jacob said. He's just toying with us now. Zura nodded. He always plays first. Waits until the fear weakens you. Jacob reloaded the shotgun and placed it on the table. Then we don't give him time to play. We act before he strikes. But how? Zura asked. He's stronger, faster. He has tech we can't match. Jacob walked over to the wall and tapped on an old panel. A secret compartment slid open, revealing a black metal case. He opened it, revealing experimental human weapons prototype. Gear from his old Black Ops days. This is what I kept when I left the force, he said. Stuff they never wanted us to have after retirement? Zura's eyes widened. That's illegal. Jacob gave a tired smile. So is kidnapping children. He pulled out a small drone, activated it, and sent it into the sky. It would scan the area, mark heat signatures, and detect cloaked devices. Zura stood beside him, more confident now. You really think we can stop him? I don't know, Jacob said, honestly. But I'm not going to let that monster touch those kids. Suddenly, the scanner beeped. The screen lit up with 5 heat signatures in the trees. Jacob cursed under his breath. He brought back up. Zura's voice cracked. He doesn't just want to kill. He wants to make a show. Jacob moved fast, locking doors, activating traps. Sealing weak points, he handed Zura a small stunner. You ever use one? She nodded. Enough to survive. He looked at her. He looked at her hand, said, Then we fight together. The house was ready, but night had just begun. And Gorak was not a hunter who left empty-handed. But this time, he had knocked on the wrong door. Because Jacob wasn't just a mechanic anymore, he was a father now, and fathers fight differently. The storm came just after midnight, not from the sky but from the trees. Jacob's scanner blinked red, 5 signals circling closer, fast, silent. Gorak's team had waited long enough. They're moving, Jacob whispered, peeking out through the armored window. Zura crouched with the children in the crawl space below the house, whispering soft lullabies in her native tongue, trying to calm their shaking. Jacob stood alone in the center of the room, fully armed, a thin wire tied to his wrist that linked to every trap outside. He wasn't just waiting, he was ready. The first explosion came near the outer fence, a bright blast of orange as one of Jacob's EMP mines fried a scout drone. The second was a sharp scream cut short by a neck snare. Jacob didn't smile, but he felt something inside stirred 2 down. He muttered. The front door shook. Gorak's voice called through the reinforced metal. Louder now. You fight for something that doesn't belong to you, human Jacob. Grabbed the speaker and replied, Neither do you. Then boom, the window blew out on the side. A blaster shot had ripped straight through it. Jacob rolled behind the table, grabbed his rifle, and returned fire. Outside, shadows moved fast, trying to breach the house. But the auto turrets Jacob had hidden in the roof popped out, unleashing a storm of steel and sparks. Zura, holding her breath under the floor, heard it all. She wanted to run out, to help, but she knew she had to stay. Her children needed her. Alive, Eleni whimpered. Is Uncle Jacob going to die? Zora's eyes filled with tears. No, my love, he promised. Remember? Then, silence. No blaster fire, no footsteps, just a quiet wind. Zura waited, unsure, until a creak echoed from above, then a thud. Oh, Jacob was thrown against the wall. Blood on his face. Gorak had gotten in. The massive alien hunter stepped through the hallway like death itself, armor cracked from the traps, but eyes glowing brighter than ever. You were a soldier once, Gorak growled. But you chose weakness. Jacob coughed, holding his side. Funny, you think protecting kids is weak. Gorak raised his arm, claws outstretched, but before he could strike, the floor behind Jacob exploded. Zura had kicked through from the crawl space, launching herself onto Gorak's back with a scream. She stabbed him in the neck with the stunner. Blue sparks flashing, the hunter roared, tossing her across the room, but Jacob was already up. Grabbing his plasma torch and slashing across Gorak's side, the alien screamed in fury, falling to one knee. "Stay away from my family," Jacob growled. Gorak lunged again, but Jacob grabbed the tripwire on his wrist and yanked, activating the final trap. The ceiling above Gorak opened, dropping a crate full of scrap metal and magnets. Pinning him down, Jacob stood over him, breathing hard, shotgun aimed at Gorak's head. "You lose," he said. Gorak hissed. "More will come." "They'll never stop." Jacob didn't shoot. He just stared, cold and silent. "You're right," he said. "So I'll give them something to fear." He stepped back and knocked Gorak unconscious with the butt of his rifle. It was over. For now, later that night, as the children slept in Jacob's bed and the alarms went quiet, Asura sat beside Jacob on the steps outside the house. Her face was bruised, her lip split. But her eyes were calm. "You risked everything for them," she said. "For me," Jacob nodded slowly. "They're good kids. You're a good mother. That's enough." Zura looked at the stars, her voice gentle. "I never imagined a human would become the father they needed." Jacob chuckled softly. "Neither did I." The wind blew across the field, carrying silence once more. But inside that silence, something had changed. This wasn't just a rescue. It was the start of something new. A family, built not by blood, but by choice, by love, by courage, a family that never was till now. Asterisk, the morning sun rose, but peace did not come with it. Smoke drifted over Jacob's home, parts of the roof still steaming from the attack. Inside, Jacob sat at the table, wrapping a bandage around his ribs. Zura helped, her hands gentle but firm. "You need rest," she said quietly. Jacob shook his head. He said, "More will come." Outside, the children played in the grass. Unaware of what waited above, Relon chased butterflies, while Eleni sat beside a flower patch, humming softly. But Jacob kept looking at the sky. "They'll send a cleanup crew," he said. "People who erase loose ends, no mercy." Zura's face tightened. "Even if we run, they'll track your DNA," Jacob said. "They don't need a trail. They only need a reason." Just then, a deep hum filled the air. It started low, like a storm behind the clouds, but grew louder. Jacob's head snapped up. He rushed outside. Shielding his eyes from the sun, there it was. A black ship, triangular and wide like a predator's mouth, descended from the clouds. "No markings," Jacob muttered. "Private military." Zura pulled the children back inside, locking the door. She looked at Jacob. "What do we do now?" He stared at the sky. "We fight, but not with bullets this time." Zura frowned, confused. "Then how?" Jacob ran to the back room and pulled out the encrypted communicator he had used days earlier. He opened the secret file left by his old commander. Inside were images files that proved the hybrid children were part of an unauthorized breeding program. Part of an illegal experiment meant to test how human and alien DNA could merge to make stronger soldiers. Zura gasped. "They used me?" Jacob looked up. "They used all of you, but now we use them." He uploaded the files and connected the signal to the colony's public network. It was a risky move, but he didn't care anymore. "Let the whole galaxy see," he said. "Let the truth burn through their lies." Outside, the black ship hovered lower, dust blowing across the land. Then the hatch opened. 6 figures stepped out, clad in black armor, helmets glowing red. Jacob pushed Zura toward the trapdoor. "Take the kids, go through the back tunnel. I'll hold them off." Zura refused. "Not without you." Jacob placed a hand on her cheek. "I made a promise, remember?" Zura's eyes welled up. "You're more of a father than anyone ever was." He kissed her forehead and turned away. Grabbing his rifle, the soldiers advanced slowly, weapons ready. Jacob stepped out onto the open field, arms wide, rifle slung. Behind his back, no need for war, he shouted. It's already over. The files are public now. The soldiers paused, listening to their earpieces inside their helmets. Alerts flash data breach confirmed. One of them raised his weapon. Anyway, Jacob's eyes narrowed. You fire, and every colony in this sector sees your face. The leader hesitated. Then slowly lowered his gun. Jacob walked closer. You were told these children were dangerous, but you were lied to. They're not weapons, they're just kids. Another voice came from the ship. This one, female, sharp, cold, he's stalling. Kill him before the soldiers could act. Another ship, a colonial transport, appeared above, blaring sirens. A deep voice echoed from it. Stand down. You are not authorized to engage. The soldiers froze, looking at each other. The woman inside the black ship cursed. Pull back, we've been compromised. The dark ship rose fast, vanishing into the clouds as quickly as it came. The mercenaries retreated, not a word spoken. Jacob dropped to his knees, exhausted from the field. Zura and the children came running. You did it, she said. Falling beside him, you really did it. Jacob smiled weakly. Not yet. He looked up at the sky. Still smoking, still dangerous. But above that fire, above that darkness, hope had finally broken through. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were fighters. They were family. 2 weeks later, the skies were calm again. No more ships circling above. No more signals on Jacob's scanners. No more fear behind every shadow. The truth had spread like wildfire. Colony networks shared Jacob's broadcast across hundreds of systems. Citizens watched, shocked, as hidden files exposed a secret operation to use alien mothers as test subjects and children as prototypes. People protested. Governments denied it. But the damage was done. Inside the central dome of Colony 12, Jacob stood in front of a desk. Metal walls reflecting the soft white lights above. Across from him sat an old man with thick glasses and a stern-faced colonial administrator, Vesk. You understand what this means? Vesk asked, looking over the forms. If you sign this, the children will become yours. Legally, fully. No one will be able to take them, not the military, not the bounty guild, not even their original government. Jacob nodded, eyes firm. That's why I'm signing. Zura sat in the waiting area nearby. Her eyes fixed on the children as they played with blocks under a holotree. Their laughter echoed softly, light and warm. They've changed, she whispered to herself. They smile now. Vesk tapped his pen on the desk. This is rare. You're not related to them, not even from the same species. Jacob looked the man in the eye. Family isn't blood, he said. It's who shows up when no one else does. The administrator studied him for a long moment, then slid the data pad forward. Signature here, thumbprint here. Jacob pressed his thumb onto the screen. It glowed blue, then beeped once confirmed. It was done. He was their legal guardian, their father. Outside the dome, a small group of people waited. Some were press. Others were just curious colonists. They had heard the story, the mechanic who stood against bounty hunters, mercenaries, and a black market operation. Some called him a hero, some called him a fool. But when Jacob stepped outside with the children, Relin holding his left hand, Lenny holding his right, the crowd went quiet. Zura followed behind them, a soft smile on her face. She wore new clothes now, her bruises healed. Her eyes brighter. Someone from the crowd called out, "Why'd you do it, human? They're not even yours." Jacob paused, looked down at the two children beside him, then back at the stranger. "They are now," he said. Simply, cheers broke out, not loud, but real. Someone clapped. Others joined in. A woman wept quietly. In the back, holding her own child tighter. Zura walked beside Jacob, her voice soft. "They asked me last night. If they can call you father?" Jacob looked at her, stunned. "What did you say?" She smiled, tears in her eyes. "I said, you already are." Later that evening, back at the rebuilt home near the forest, Jacob lit a small fire in the pit. Outside, the children roasted sweet fruits on long sticks, laughing as the flames danced. Zura sat beside Jacob, wrapped in a light blanket. The stars above, clear and calm. "Do you ever miss your old life?" she asked. Jacob chuckled. "The quiet?" Sometimes she leaned her head against his shoulder. "You gave them more than protection. You gave them a chance to be happy." He looked into the fire, the warmth flickering in his eyes. "They gave me something too." "What's that?" "A reason," he whispered. To keep going, the children rushed over, holding out burned fruits proudly. "We made them for you." Jacob took them both, one in each hand, grinning. "These are perfect." They all sat by the fire, like a real family. Not perfect, not planned, but strong. Built from pain, bonded by choice, and finally free.